Okay, so I have another topic, and that's relationships, male and female. I may have hit on this before, but I don't know. I got a lot of videos out there, and one of the things I want to touch on is intimacy. So if you've been married for a long time, and things change over time, but what should never change is the closeness that you have with your spouse. That should never change. You should never lord that over them. You should never hold that from them. You should never use that as a weapon or as a form of punishment. That is a time, there's like stuff on the road. That is a time of reflection for you and your wife to come together as a couple and create that oneness and intimacy that you can't get anywhere else. You can't get it as a homosexual, and you're not going to get it with, a barfly. I mean, it's the most important thing that you could do with your married wife. And you should never, like I said, never lord it over them, hold it against them. If you're a certain way when you get married and you're very tight with one another and you're very intimate, passionate, the kissing and all the other stuff that goes, because there's different stages of love as your marriage progresses. And so if you were hot and heavy and passionate lovers, don't change that. Don't change that, because the other one picks up on that rather quickly. And then there's all kinds of dynamics that go into that, whether or not, is it me? Is something wrong? What am I doing wrong? What happened? Why is this different? Even if you don't want to do something, as long as you're both in agreement, I want to keep that clear. You must both be in agreement. So even if there's something that you decide, this doesn't float my boat anymore, but it does for your partner, you do it for your partner, because what is love? Love is unconditional. You do things for the other person because you love them that much. I may not be into rubbing your feet, and sometimes your feet smell, but I'll do it because, I love you more than anything. And there's nobody else's feet I'd rather rub than your feet. Or, I hate painting toenails because I feel very feminine. But I'll do it because you're my wife and it makes you feel good. You know what I mean? Things like that. You should never stop. You should never stop doing. If you loved her that much way back when, that you would do anything underneath the sun to please, pleasure, make that person happy, make that person feel like they are the most unique individual on the planet, you never stop that. Because when you do, you hurt the other person. You both must be in agreement to abstain from intimacy. One cannot just deny the other, and that's biblical. It's in the Bible. If you want me to show you the verse, I can. But you could look it up yourself. Never deny the other person, and you shouldn't have to ask. You shouldn't have to get permission. Oh, hey, would you like to? Can I get a rain check? Is there something I could do so that, we could do this? Or, there's just all kinds of stuff, but, it should just be like it was when you were first married, whether that's 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. That should never change. So many other things change, but that should never change. And you start changing those things or taking those things away that other person has just felt, bonded to, connected to, because it's bonding. When you're intimate with someone else, I have something on my phone. When you're intimate with somebody else or multiples, you lose that connection. So when you look at the different dispensational periods in the Bible, this guy had 500 wives, this guy had this many, and he had so many concubines and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a time and a place and a reason for all that. And then God decided, hey, there's enough of you people on the planet, and I want you to concentrate on one wife, one woman. And that's what we're commanded to do. You leave your mom and dad, and you become one with your wife. You become one, not two, but one. And sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to do, but you do it because you love that person. Period. End of story. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. But no. You know, when you decide to put a ring on that finger and consummate that marriage, you gave up all your needs and wants, selfish needs and wants, for her. And you would do those things together as a couple. Because there's nothing more precious than a loving married couple, you know. And the best loving experience you'll ever have is with a partner that equally loves you as much as you love them. And there are no boundaries in the bedroom unless you and her decide that this is a boundary. Obviously, you can't bring another lover into the bedroom. That's a sin. You know, I'm just talking a man and a woman. So everything is permissible in God's eyes in the bedroom between a married couple. Whether it's whatever you two agree to do to one another in the privacy of your bedroom, you know, between a married couple is totally acceptable to God, because God gave us so many feel-good, touchy spots and areas that should only be shared, you know, between you and your wife. And you know what? And you don't get sick. You know, there's certain things like, you know, if a woman's on her cycle, you know, you shouldn't be farting around in that, because, you know, that's her body's way of taking care of itself. And I do believe, and I don't have that quoted, but that's one thing that you shouldn't do. There's other things that you could do other than dipping in that, you know, other things to do as a married couple to take care of each other without, you know, getting into that messy area there. There's a reason why you stay out of that area. I'm not going to get into detail. You can figure that out yourself. But my whole point of this video is if you've been married 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years or whatever, and the first 7 years, first 2 years, or whatever it is, you know, that hot and heaviness should never go away. Like I said, you may not want to, but if your partner does, you should give it 100%, because that is your all, that's your everything. You know, unless you're both in agreement. It's like, you know what, honey, I'm not feeling good. Or she says to you, hey, I'm not feeling good. Let's just take a rain check tonight. Then absolutely take a rain check. You know, and it might be a day, a week, or whatever. You know, maybe the other person's sick. Who knows? But anyway, but you both need to be in agreement. And I'm telling you, it works out so much better. You know, and certainly don't fight over it. That I'm telling you, that never works out. Never, ever, ever. You get angry with your wife because, you know, she doesn't want to do something or whatever. You know, that sex and money ruins a lot of marriages. You know, people cheat because they're not getting something from home. They're not getting what they once got from home. You know, and when you have that connection and that feeling, it's powerful. I mean, it will ruin a marriage, destroy a life, or many lives, you know? So don't do that to your partner, you know? And, I mean, it's easy to say these things, you trust me, you know? But when you're faced with that reality, I'm just telling you from my own personal experience, you know, having been married almost 30 years, it's you have your trials and tribulations. So I'm only saying this because, you know, I've been down that road. You know, I understand it more today than I did 20 years ago, you know. But again, you know, we're all sinners. We're all imperfect. You know, we all make mistakes. you know. But, you know, you should try to steer yourself away from those mistakes as much as possible. Like, don't let yourself be, you know, alone with another woman. You know, try to stay away from that as much as you can. You know, work. I know work could be difficult, and trips and things like that. You know, all those things could be hard. You know, I get it. You know, and you know, when I've been to big meetings with 100-some people, you know, I go to the events, but then when the events are over, it's back to my room. And the other guys are down there just, you know, slamming, you know, beers, this, that, and everything else underneath the sun. And I just, you know, I'm done. You know, there's been times where I won't do any of those things. I just order room service. Go to the class, do whatever, order room service, man. You know, keeps you out of trouble. It keeps you away from the idiots that get in trouble or do stupid crap. You don't have to do anything, but you can be by people and be guilty just by association. So nobody wants to go down that road either. And so do I have a text message from somebody? I do. But anyway, so that's just something to think about. It's 11 minutes, roughly, but, you know, don't deny yourself. Don't deny your partner. You know, always come together in that loving, you know, tender moment that you've been doing for years or for decades. And don't forget how special she is. She has her moments, and by golly, you know, you're going to have your moments too if you're a dude, you know. And we could all be assy, pardon my language, stupid, insecure, selfish, all that stuff. You know, none of us are impervious of any of that. So just keep that in mind. And like I said this before, you know, tell everybody that you know that you love them. You know, that includes your spouse. Never forget to tell your spouse that you love them. Again, none of us are perfect. I am not perfect. I am the furthest thing from frickin' perfect. You know, I have made more mistakes than I care to share or care to talk about. And but it's taught me something. And I don't know why I'm going this way. But I hope that this little bit that I've shared means something to you or somebody, or makes a difference to somebody, or they'll have that conversation with their partner. And that's all it is communication. It's a conversation. You know, I've looked at my wife in the past and said, honey, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea why I feel this way. I don't know why I said what I said, you know, but I've looked her square in the eye and said, I am totally lost. And it's okay to be that way. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, women think differently than men. And when we try to write a book about women or write a book about our wives, you know, we'll get it wrong. So, but the best thing that you can do is ask questions, be open, have those difficult conversations, the do's, the likes, stay away from, this is inappropriate, this doesn't feel good. Have those conversations. Then it's clear. You have a clear understanding of where you're at, you know, and there's no confusion because you have that conversation. It's just so important to have that conversation. Anything and everything. So be open with each other. Gosh, it's easy. Just move your mouth. Anyway, so that's my rant on that. So thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe. If you like more content like that, let me know. I'll make some more. God, I've been doing this a long time. And if I can impart some sort of wisdom, no matter how small, if it saves you some heartache or something you've never thought about, or this video breaks the ice between you and your husband, golly, I've had conversations with my wife that, you know, I'll be honest with you, I've been embarrassed, but it's just like, you know, I just felt she needed to know. And then when I say it, gosh darn it, I feel so much better. Woo, it's off my chest. So You know, if she loves you, she'll always be with you. And that's proof in the pudding. A woman's not going to leave a loving, caring, thoughtful, compassionate, communicative man, and a guy that works hard, that really does try to do the right thing. And even though we all make mistakes, you know, just own up to them and move forward. Don't dwell on it, and don't harp up the, pardon my language, don't bring up old shit. The past is past. If you've truly forgiven, you move forward and don't throw it in their face. Anyway, it's enough about that. So I got to make a pit stop, run an errand. So like and subscribe, please. Doesn't cost you anything. And if you like this video, let me know. And have a good evening.